We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It's Monday. We're starting a new week. A lot of shit happening, in spite of the fact that Kamala lost the presidential race. Donald Trump's causing all kinds of havoc, and it's getting a little crazy out there. I don't have a guest today. You remember just a short time ago, I did a live on YouTube, and that was the podcast. And that was weird, though, because something was wrong with YouTube and we got no questions. You remember a while back before that, we did a TikTok live. Unfortunately, halfway through the TikTok live, I got kicked off by TikTok because the Trumplefucks were whining and crying that I was being too mean, and they shut me down. And then they suspended me till like the 25th of November. We're at December 1st now, so we are back. And I just hit the live button. I got people starting to join us here. But that's what the Rational Boomer podcast is going to be. TikTok Live. We're going to try it again. Fortunately, I have TJ the Plumber. Um, uh, TJ the Plumber, who's going to be a moderator out there, maybe Greg Captain as well. And we'll try to keep those Trumplefucks at bay as best we can. All right. I just want to welcome the folks to the live on TikTok. Just to give you full transparency, while I'm doing this live, I'm also going to be recording this. So it'll also be the Rational Boomer podcast for tomorrow. I did something on YouTube with a live and I got no questions. So I said, I better get back here to TikTok. Now, some of you who were with me on the last TikTok, now I got booted off because the Trumplefucks got a little upset. They said I was being too mean and they shut me down and then suspended me till November 25th. Well, it's December 1st. I'm back and we'll give it another try. Um, I think TJ the Plumber and maybe Greg Captain out there doing the moderation. The best thing we can tell you to do is not interact with the trolls. That's what they want. They can't build their own platform, so they got to come on somebody else's and try to make some noise. I don't know why they want to make noise. They fucking they won. We lost. Just shut up and get something done. Anyway, we are on TikTok Live. We're doing the Rational Boomer podcast. Sheila Shepherd says, "You're a good man. I tell the truth." Well, thank you very much. I try to be as best I can. Brent says, "Great news. Joe pardoned his son." Yeah, that's probably the big news that we're dealing with right now. You'll remember that Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, um, was charged with some crimes. The deal was cut. And then the Republicans whined and cried enough. They got a special counsel and then they reran the trial. He was convicted of 3 felonies and he's waiting to be sentenced. Somebody asked Joe Biden, said, "Joe, are you going to pardon your son?" And he said, "Absolutely not, because he's an old school kind of guy. That wasn't what he was going to do." Well, of course, Kamala loses. All kinds of other crazy shit is going on. So Joe Biden says, "Fuck it. I'm pardoning my kid." He's been through a lot. He's been treated worse than most people in that same position just because it was politically expedient for the Republicans and because he was um, Donald Trump's favorite whipping boy. So he's gone through his stuff. He's 5 years sober. He got pardoned by his dad. And I'm sure the Republicans are losing their shit at this point. Debbie 2000 says, "Old Soul has me watching you and Eric. You're both amazing." Well, Debbie, thank you. And Old Soul herself is amazing. Um, Analytical Iowan is out there. Um, he's Analytical Iowan is Eric, and he's on the program a lot. He knows a lot of stuff. He knows details. He's on TikTok as Analytical Iowan. You can hear him on the Rational Boomer podcast. Be sure to check him out. Clint says, as he should, it's about time they did something they wouldn't have done before uh, with Hunter Biden. Yeah, they treated him extra badly and they did everything they could to embarrass him. I don't know how much more they could try to do it. I haven't heard many responses from the Republicans about this, but this is a small win. This doesn't really gain us much, but it's kind of in the face of the Republicans. And when they bitch about pardoning Hunter Biden, I'd only have to ask, well, why did Donald Trump Um, pardon Paul Manafort for being connected with Russia, or Steve Bannon, or his daughter's father-in-law for his criminal activity. This is the least he should do. Um, Man Dog says, do you think the election will be certified without any objections? My gut feeling right now, based on what I know, is yeah. You know, you hear a lot of people out there suggesting there's conspiracy theories and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon. I'm not going to be like the Republicans back in 2020. If I see actual facts and evidence and see something being done by the Democrats, then I'll look at it. But even if there is evidence, I'm not convinced that the Democrats and the DOJ are going to come up and do anything about it. I base that on what's happened the last 4 years. Okay, I see a Trump-la-fuck here. We're not going to talk him. We're just going to block that bitch. He was saying we didn't expect Biden to demonstrate moral, ethical judgment. LOL. Lying is his legacy. Oh, you have a problem with lying, but you support Donald Trump? Now you're a silly motherfucker. Laurel says, hi, Mike. Hey, TJ the plumber is in the house. He is a Trump-la-fuck bouncer, if you will. He'll bounce a lot of people out. They call me Gigi. I'm so glad he pardoned Hunter. Yes, we're glad too. Sandra says it's about time Democrats do what Republicans always did. And frankly, that's what I think we're left to do in the next 4 years, if it takes that long for Donald Trump. We're in a position where they have the power in the House and the Senate and the presidency. We can just do what they did, obstruct the shit out of them. They've got a thinner margin in the House, which is going to make it tough for them to get anything done. They're in the Senate. We always hated the filibuster, but now it's on our side, so we can shut down anything they want to do in the Senate. We should also be talking and exposing everything they do, everything they mess up. If the economy's bad, blame it fully on Donald Trump. Just do exactly what they did to Joe Biden. It's not the most sophisticated way. It's not the appropriate way, but we know it worked for the Republicans, so why not do it ourselves? Let's see here. Biden is not the one who doesn't tell the truth. That's the orange man. Yeah, absolutely. Ray the Fixer TV. Hello, love that you're doing this. Actually, I love doing the lives. It allows me to kill two birds with one stone. I do the live. I get a chance to interact with some folks. I record it and use it for the podcast. It makes it more interesting. I always think with the podcast, it's more interesting if we've got people to interact with. That's why on the Rational Boomer podcast, I read a lot of emails and I have a lot of guests who happen to be listeners. I'm kind of the shit stirrer. We've got a lot of bright people, a lot of smart people with some great insights, and it's great to have them involved. Let's see here. I'm totally on board with Biden pardoning his son. Yeah, I think all Democrats will. I think we're all up for the idea of pardoning him. He was run through the ringer by the Republicans, and it wasn't necessary. He was treated worse than most people in that same situation. Zeta says Trump put his 2 cents in. He wants to know if Biden's going to pardon the insurrectionist. Yeah, no. We'll leave that to you, Donald. And when you do that, you'll get to pay the price for releasing a bunch of convicted felons. We can watch the Republicans crash out for the next week. You know, that's the interesting thing about the Republicans. Everybody's so tied up with who Donald Trump is nominating, and you've got Trump-la-fucks coming to our lives and arguing with us. You won. Shouldn't you be trying to figure out what the fuck you're going to do? I even hear some of these people backstepping a little bit on the economy. Donald Trump keeps saying he's going to do these tariffs. I'm not so certain that the Republicans will allow him to do that. But if he does do that, it's going to crash the economy. And now people on the Republican side are trying to make excuses for that. All you did is whine about the economy, even though it was great under Joe Biden. Now you're going to be held to to task on the shit you've said and the shit you've done. I have a Trumplefuck that asked me to come on his podcast. This is one I had on my podcast. I've known this kid for a long time, not the brightest motherfucker in the world. He's real easy to kick his ass. And now he wanted to invite me on his podcast because Trump won and he figured he's probably had the upper hand. I don't think so. And he said, well, I just want to talk about the results and the landslide win from Donald Trump. No, I know we're going to have problems because you can't read. It wasn't a landslide by any sense of the imagination. Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris by 1.2 or 1.6%, which is the third lowest margin in the history of the presidential elections. Yeah, Brian Wallenberg, he wants me on his show. I'll go on his show, but I won't be friendly. I'm going to be doing what Republicans did to Democrats. So, Brian, if you think the first time was rough, oh shit. I would like to ask Brian, because I know he has daughters, how do you square voting for a man who's been adjudicated as a sexual abuser? How do you square that? How do you square that you're supporting a man that's been accused 26 times of assaulting women? Doesn't make any sense. How do you square taking away rights from your own daughters by overturning Roe v. Wade? Yeah, I'll have some questions for that motherfucker, and he better answer them because I'm not going to let him go off on a tangent. We're going to pull that fucker back and say, no, answer that. It's not going to be a comfortable time for him. I'll be surprised if he actually comes through with it. Last time I was on his show, it wasn't going well in the first 10 minutes. He claimed to have technical difficulties, and we never did it. So I'm not too confident that this guy has the wherewithal to pull fucking anything off. Biden is a great dad. How is Trump a great dad? Trump isn't a great dad. Trump had nothing to do with raising these people up. Jeff Anderson's, why do you have to cuss so much? You haven't ever seen me before, have you? Look, Jeff, I do what I do. I try to be as authentic as I possibly can. I am who I am. If the swearing bothers you, you're going to be in for trouble if you keep listening to me. So at that point, you should probably not listen to this. It's just who I am and what I do. If you don't like it, I can appreciate that, but I'm not changing. I'm not changing for anybody. Um, Funny how Republicans aren't talking about groceries and the cost of living any longer. No, it's funny. Donald Trump's not even in. He's had no effect on the economy at all, but they're not talking about it because they're going to want to try to take credit for it when Donald Trump takes over. First day he gets in, they'll be talking about how the great the economy is. See, the problem with Donald Trump is he doesn't do anything. He's very performative. He talks about shit. He says he's going to do shit. He threatens all the time. But this is one of the reasons why I'm not that worried about him, because he doesn't have a good track record of really accomplishing anything. And all these clowns he's surrounding himself with, well, fuck, they don't know what they're doing either. They might do some bad things, but they certainly aren't going to be productive. They aren't going to know how to fucking govern. Rocket surgery. How would he eliminate the filibuster? It's a Senate rule that he has no jurisdiction. Right? Yeah. Donald Trump can't get rid of the filibuster. The Senate will have to do that, and the Senate's always been afraid to do that because as much as the Republicans would like to get rid of the filibuster now, they know if Donald Trump has a bad couple of years, they're going to want the filibuster back when the Democrats take it over. I don't know that you'll ever see the Senate actually get rid of the filibuster. Everybody's too afraid about what if the other side wins. Was an absolute landslide. Well, if you think it was a landslide, then you're too stupid to be on this program. France banned Kushner. Is that true? That would be hilarious. Donald Trump, pardoned Kushner's dad sometime back in his first term, and now he's trying to make him ambassador of France. France banned Kushner. It wouldn't surprise me if they did, but I haven't heard that officially. Um, and they cheated with Elon. Yeah, I'm not the one to go crying and whining and saying that they cheated, but there was some cheating involved, some very clear cheating. Remember the bomb threats in Georgia coming from Russia? Elon cheating by giving away money, buying votes. Yeah, they fucking cheated. Um, how are they to support him as commander in chief when he doesn't respect them? Yeah, Donald Trump has no respect for anybody. He's a malignant narcissist. The only person he cares about is himself. He has no respect for anybody. Once he has no use for you, he'll toss you aside like so much garbage. And they'll find that out now that he may not be on well, he will not be up for reelection. He doesn't need anybody's votes anymore. So he's just going to go hog wild. Republicans will get a little nervous about that because it will cost them votes. And there'll be some pushback by the Republicans. Colleen says, are you on Blue Sky? Yes, I am. I have been there for a couple of weeks. Just go to Rational Boomer, and I think it's 416 after that. Rational Boomer 416. Uh, Ethel Hoyt says, oh my God, get over yourself. Well, if you have that problem, why the fuck are you here? Hey, I'll save you the trouble. You're fucking gone. Um, I'm just, I've got a guy here that I've blocked, and he still keeps showing up. I must be behind in this thing. You should be advisor to the next Dem president. I don't know if I'd be an advisor. My style isn't really conducive to politicians because I don't listen to shit. I step a little outside the box, and they may not like what I have to say. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican because I've seen both sides do some stupid shit. Now, granted, the Republicans are the most horrific of all, and we had to fight with the Democrats to beat them down. That didn't work. I think the Democrats have some work to do too. We've got a lot of work ahead of us in the next 2 years and in the next 4 years in order for Democrats to come back from this. Oliver's mom, Mexico and Canada will help stop the tariffs. They've already hinted retaliation. Yeah, anybody that we put tariffs on will retaliate. The whole concept is a dumb idea. The only people that don't know that it's a dumb idea are Donald Trump and the Trumplafucks. Most Republicans understand what it could possibly do to the economy, and they aren't going to let it happen. Tariffs have to be run through Congress. Donald Trump just can't unilaterally say you're getting a tariff. That's not how it works. Donald Trump went down and talked to um, President Scheinbaum in Mexico. He talked to Trudeau in Mar-a-Lago. And the impression I got from what those two leaders said afterwards is that Donald Trump's not quite not ranting as much about the tariffs when he's sitting in front of somebody else. That's because Donald Trump is a gutless piece of shit. Blessings says Trump really wasn't qualified to run because he was impeached twice and broke the 14th Amendment. You're absolutely right. That 14th Amendment has some bearing on this. I keep hearing talk that the Democrats are going to somehow try to enforce that to keep him out of office. But the funny thing is, I haven't seen anything yet. The Democrats have been pretty quiet. That's either means they're doing something or they're doing nothing. And based on the past 4 years, when trying to get Donald Trump on trial, the DOJ, Merrick Garland, and the Democrats, they haven't done much of anything. So I'm not confident of their willingness to do something. And we'll see. We'll see. I would love to hear that they do something at the last moment, but I'm not counting on that. Bree says it just shows what this country thinks of women. I agree with you, Bree. I told you before the election that the Republicans were at war against women. And clearly that's true. They're at war with women. Overturning Roe v. Wade, taking away rights and bodily autonomy for women. That's fucking horrible. Some of the things that are happening because of those laws, those dystopian laws. 3 young women died in Texas unnecessarily because they couldn't get the reproductive health care that they deserved. And that's thanks to Greg Abbott and the Republican legislature in Texas. Um, Jeff Anderson, have some class. Yeah, fuck yourself. I get these people not all the time, infrequently, and they say, you shouldn't swear so much. Look, it's just me. There's a lot of things on TikTok I don't like, So what I do when I don't like something on TikTok, I don't watch them. It's simple. We're adults. If you don't like me, get in fucking line. There's a lot of people that don't like me. How do other women do it, especially ectopic pregnancies? Well, that's the point. It's not just about abortions, it's about women having trouble with pregnancies. And when they do, they need special care. But even these Republicans think that that is bad. So they've got to wait until they're sick enough to get care. And sometimes they get too sick and they don't make it when it should have been a very simple thing. And that is blood on the hands of Republicans right there. Mama Kimbo says, we love the cuss. Thank you. I don't do it because people like it. I won't stop because people don't like it. I'm just doing what I do. I've been doing it for 4 years. I'm not changing it now. Blessing says it's a matter of life and death. Yeah, that's the sad thing about this whole situation with overturning Roe v. Wade and the lack of reproductive health care. It is truly a matter of life and death. It's fucking crazy. A country like America should have better health care than we have. We should have health care for everybody, regardless of your income. If you're a citizen of this country, you shouldn't die because you can't afford it or because of some ridiculous, egregious laws like in Texas and like in Florida. That's appalling. That's embarrassing for this country. And apparently, Republicans aren't embarrassed by it at all. They're willing to sacrifice women and children to serve their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, who really doesn't give a shit about abortion. He honestly doesn't. He just hopped on board that train because he thought it would get him votes and money. Here's the thing. Going into this election, I thought overturning Roe v. Wade would be the thing that lost it for Donald Trump. We know that more than 70% of this country supports Roe v. Wade. So it only makes sense that 70% of the country would vote against Donald Trump since he's the one that started the whole thing. He personally acknowledged that he was the one. But still, somehow 48% of this country still vote for Donald Trump, while many of them do support Roe v. Wade. My question to them is, okay, you live in a state that doesn't have anti-abortion laws. What are you going to do if they turn it into a national law, a federal law? And then it's going to come down on you too. You're going to be like all the other Trumplefucks that fucked around and found out and realized at the last minute you were stupid, you made the wrong choice, and now you're going to have to pay the price. That's something that Republicans are starting to feel now. The idea of taking down the education department, I don't think he's going to be able to do that. But if he does, there's a lot of things the education department does. Like, for example, they're the ones funding all programs for special needs. So that means anybody with a special needs child that has a program, that would be gone. If you wanted that after Donald Trump takes out the education department, you'd have to pay for it yourself. How do you like that? Or if you're a teacher in the special needs program, you're probably going to be out of a job. Now, I'm guessing there's some Republicans that fall in those categories and maybe didn't understand that, but too late now. Anthony Aldridge says, I've never seen you before, but I do like everything you just said. Thank you, Anthony. I've been around a while and I've got some followers. So with the algorithm on TikTok, it's not hard to miss somebody. Section 232 Trade Act allows Trump to assign tariffs without congressional approval. When did that come out? Because there was a new law passed in 2023. I can't, uh, um, I can't possibly tell you the exact section number or what it was, but there was a law passed in 2023 that you couldn't unilaterally pass tariffs. But honestly, I hope he does pass the tariffs because that would be the thing that destroys the Republican Party. It won't last long because there will be a huge pushback. And again, remember, Donald Trump is saying this. Donald Trump is a pathological liar. He says a lot of shit. He was going to build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it. Never happened. A lot of stuff that Donald Trump says never happens. He's just doing it. He's just doing it to try and scare people. This is his intimidation tactic. This is his bullying tactic. Most bullies don't back up with what they say because they don't have the courage to do it. Old nerdy bastard says, hard to believe that F your feelings crowd doesn't like swearing. Yeah, isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic? See, this is my intention going forward. You know, I talk about informing people, giving them information the media doesn't give them, but I will be going on the attack against Trumplafucks. I'll be pointing out their failures. I'll be pointing out the economy, the things they screw up, the stupid, crazy shit that Donald Trump does. I'm going to try to bring it into the narrative and make fun of these people because what's going to happen is going to be absolutely silly. And we better make fun of it. Otherwise, we'll be crying about it because it will hurt a lot of people. Will veterans' benefits be reduced? Well, if Donald Trump does what he wants to do, yeah, they will. And there's some fear of that. It's ironic. He loves the people in the service, but he's willing to cut veterans' benefits. I don't know to what extent, and I don't know what process he has to go through to get that done, but that is something that they've talked about. Absolutely. TJ the Plumber's pointed out if you haven't listened to the Rational Boomer podcast as yet, we wish you would. I do a show every night, about an hour, hour and a half. I read emails. I have listeners that are guests. I do lives like this and make them the podcast. We do this every night, and we have a fair amount of time to do it. So it's different than the TikToks. Usually I get to the point, tell the story, and then we move on. With the podcast, we can go in depth in things. If you like the audio version of the podcast, just go to Spotify, search Rational Boomer. If you want the video version of the podcast, go to YouTube and search Rational Boomer. So I expect to see you over there. Mace 28 says it's all about money. Well, that's the unfortunate thing. Everything in our government is about money. And this impacts Republicans and Democrats as well. Let's fill my pockets first, and then we'll see if we can do some good and get some votes from the people. This is what I've always said. This isn't a fight between Democrats and Republicans. This is a fight between those fuckers and us because they've been taking advantage of us for a long time. According to the Constitution, the power should be with the people. But we gave that away a long time ago when we were apathetic with politicians. Just let them do what they're going to do. They're getting paid a lot of money. They know what to do. Well, they do know what to do, but before they do anything for us, they fill their pockets. We've got to get the power back. And the way we get the power back is use the one thing that we have as strength, and that is the power of public opinion. When the Democrats or the Republicans find out that the vast majority of people don't like something, you find them backing down from it very quickly. Now, in order to do that, we've got to be loud and proud and continuing pushing in their face, Democrats and Republicans. No, bitch, we don't like that. We don't like that. Do not do that. And that's really the only tool we have going forward. This clown says, keep up all the false information. Why are you here? This is the funny thing about Trumplafucks. They come to my lives and they give me shit. I got one warning already. Why are you here? You won the House, you won the Senate, you won the presidency. Shouldn't you be busy fixing everything that Joe Biden screwed up? Isn't that what you should be doing? No, the thing about it is Trump all they know how to do is fight. They can't govern. They don't have the ability to accomplish anything. So they only do what they know how to do, and that is trying to fight. Um, you do fine. Don't worry. Keep it up. I'm a follower of yours. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not changing anything ever. If I'm changing, I just won't do it anymore. So I won't change. What do you think about the rules of law? I think the rule of law is great if people would follow it. For 8 years, the Republicans have fought against the rule of law. Rule of law is a nice concept, but nobody seems to follow it. We can't have anything nice because of greed. Yeah, this country should be in better shape, but because of greed, we don't. We have the problems with um, high cost inflation. We have the problems with college uh, tuition. We have the problems with healthcare. It's all about greed. It's not about ideology or even good ideas. It's all about fucking greed. And that's what we've got to get out of the system. You demanded Obamacare, now bitching about it. I don't know what that means. Hell, the Trump don't know the difference between Obamacare and the ACA. There is no difference. Um, Lucky Nelsie says, I like everything you say. Thank you very much. Um, would Vance become president if the 14th Amendment was exercised? That I'm not sure about. And I've asked people about it. I'm assuming exercising the 14th Amendment some point before the inauguration. That's a question I've always had. I presume it would be J.D. Vance, but here's the thing: J.D. Vance isn't the vice president yet. If they haven't inaugurated Donald Trump, then he's not the vice president. Presumably, it was be J.D. Vance, but I'm not sure. I don't know what their intentions are with the 14th Amendment. Regardless, it's a long shot. Um, please talk about Social Security. Yeah, a lot of people are worried about Social Security. Hell, I take Social Security. I'm 64 years old. People are worried about what they're going to do to Social Security. And I'm less worried about that than some other things. And here's why. Social Security affects virtually everybody, especially in red states, the SSDI or SSI. Um, it affects a lot of people. And if they were to do something like that, it would be devastating. It would be political suicide. They can rant and rave about it all they want. They're going to be hard pressed to accomplish that. You're going to need significant support in the House and the Senate. And I don't think that significant support is there. They'll talk about it. I'll tell you this: I'm 64 years old. And when I was 18 years old paying Social Security, they said, by the time you're old enough, you will never get it. They've been saying this for years, for decades. But here I am at 64 collecting Social Security. I'm not saying some things couldn't happen to fuck it up or cause problems with it or extend when you can take it. But I will say this: the idea of them getting rid of Social Security or Medicare, that makes no sense. I don't know how they do it without committing political suicide. That is bad. We don't need Vance. I will tell you something about that, though. If Donald Trump gets into office and they impeach him, the Republicans could impeach him because he would do crazy stuff or just embarrass them. They're going to try to neutralize him. He wants to golf. That's all he wants to do. As long as he looks good, he doesn't give a fuck. But if somehow Donald Trump is out of there and JD Vance takes over, it's not going to be great, but it'll be better than Donald Trump. Because you see, JD Vance can be controlled by the Republicans. Donald Trump cannot. And the Republicans will want to tone things down a little bit. They're going to want to push back against some of the things Donald Trump does because it's going to be bad for them in the midterms in 2026. So if JD Vance ends up being the president, I'm not going to be happy about that. He's not going to be a good president, but he's a wimp. He'll do whatever he's told. And so if Donald Trump isn't there, then the Mitch McConnells and some of the other Republicans, John Thune, will get him to toe the line. And the thing about it is what the Republicans would do just normally wouldn't be things we'd like, but they wouldn't be as egregious as what Donald Trump would do. Anthony Aldridge says, I mean, I suppose in Taliban controlled Afghanistan, thanks to Trump, they call it Sir, LOL. Yeah, you're probably right. Javier says it's unfortunate that some people take advantage of the system and make it hard for the disadvantaged. You're absolutely right about that. There are some people who take advantage of Medicare and Social Security. That's true. But there are some people that take advantage of tax laws, like wealthy people. We've got a lot of corruption in government. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed, but I tell you this, the Republicans aren't the one to do it. They're the ones that create the corruption. They're the ones that create the waste. They're the ones that create the debt. So having Donald Trump and the Republicans in there isn't going to help. How is Elon Musk, owner of SpaceX, on the side of flat earthers? He's like Donald Trump. He just jumps on any bandwagon that thinks is going to make him money. I will tell you this, Elon Musk probably isn't long for being Donald Trump's BFF. Elon Musk and Donald Trump are both malignant narcissists. They can't coexist in one spot. It's just not possible. Somebody has to be the top dog and somebody has to be the bitch. And since Donald Trump is the president, he's going to be the top dog. Elon Musk will wear out his welcome and then he'll be kicked to the curb too, especially if he's supporting J.D. Vance and trying to get Donald Trump out of office. They bitch about Obamacare and I know two Republicans that had it, hypocrites. Well, see, this is how they justify that. They don't like Obamacare, but they do like the ACA. They think they're different. I know I've talked to Trumplefucks about this. They think it's different. Well, it's not. It's always been called the Affordable Care Act, the ACA. That's what Obama called it. It was the Republicans that slapped Obamacare on there because they knew the racists wouldn't like the fact that a black man's name was on the health care. The Republicans didn't try to clear that up. They wanted to work against Obamacare. So Trumplefucks don't know the difference. They don't know that there is no difference between Obamacare and the ACA. Lolo says, Boomer, I look forward to seeing your videos every day. You tell us everything we need to know. Thank you. Well, I do my best. I try. I don't know that I catch all of it. And I'm not really a newsman per se. There are people out there that tell you the news on TikTok that are very good. People like Aaron Parnas, people like V from Under the Desk News. They're news people. I'm not really a news person. I take those things that I think are important to us and I try to break it down in simple terms so we can all understand that. I wouldn't have to do that if the media did that for us, but we know they don't. So that's what I do. You'll probably be locked up if you don't have a job under Trump. I'm not worried about him locking me up. You still gotta break a law to get locked up, regardless of who's the president. And like I've always said, I take a quote from the great comedian Bernie Mac, who once said, I'm not afraid of you motherfuckers, and I'm not afraid of Donald Trump or any of the other idiots. I'm not big enough where I matter to any of these fucks. And if they do come after me, good. I haven't broken any laws. I'm using my First Amendment right. Trump would have you all in jail and just make money from the jail's slave labor. Now, you give Donald Trump too much credit. See, people think Donald Trump is smart, and he's not smart. He's an imbecile. He doesn't strategize. He doesn't think things out. He pulls shit out of his ass and throws it against the wall like a fucking monkey, and he doesn't accomplish anything. Take a look at the first term. What did he accomplish? He got a tax break for wealthy people, but after that, what did he do? Oh, I know what they'll say. Well, he got warp speed and got the vaccines out. Well, he did get warp speed. He didn't do it. Somebody else did. He took credit for it. But remember what happened when warp speed ended or was ready to go. They had no way to distribute it. No one was getting the vaccine, even though the vaccine was available. Oh, it's going to be 2 weeks. It's going to be a month. It's going to be 2 months. Then when Joe Biden finally took office, he got the distribution set up quick, fast, in a hurry, and everybody got the vaccine. It's all well and good if you can say that you were responsible for getting the vaccine, but if you can't distribute the shit, you don't know what the fuck you're doing and you haven't done anything. I'm glad Joe pardoned Hunter. Trump plans on pardoning himself of all things. Now, there's no real, well, first of all, the New York case, the lawsuit, Georgia, he can't pardon himself from that anyway. And fact is there's no certainty that he can pardon himself anyway. I bought, you were only, I thought you were only 64. You're a young man. Get out. How old Trump is. You know, I'm 64. And Donald Trump is 78, not the best physical or mental condition either. Um, I've often said I would love to interview Donald Trump the way he should have been interviewed back in 2015. Force him to answer the questions. Don't let him off the hook like the media did. And if they'd done that in 2015, Donald Trump would have never been president in the first place. Linda Owen says, that I believe whatever they are going to do, hopefully they'll be smart about trying to be hopeful. Dr. Q, he comes in and says, Trump, dude, don't you have shit to do? I love how they come in here and they say, Trump 2024. You won, bitch. Go do something. Because if you don't, I'm going to be coming here every day talking about how big of losers you are. Trump doesn't care. He's out to fill his own pockets. Yeah, that goes without saying. Um, SO Livestock, you've heard it here. In 2 years, the Dems will have the House and Senate back after this shit. Well, I'm not making predictions because my prediction of Kamala Harris didn't pan out, even though it doesn't make any logical sense. But knowing that the Republicans will either do nothing or fuck things up, that's a distinct possibility that the Democrats could get the House and the Senate. And if that happens in 2 years, what's Donald Trump going to do? He ain't going to do fuck all. So that should be our next goal. I'm 69, make less than 600 a month in SS, and I'm still working. Yeah, there's a lot of people like you, and I'm sorry about that. Our country should be treating older people better. That's the thing, is they want to try to take away Social Security, and it's not like anybody's getting rich off of Social Security. It's just kind of a half safety net. It's not saving anybody. It's just kind of giving them a little bit of room. You're absolutely right, Lisa. It's a bunch of shit. Social Security should be better in the first place, and they shouldn't be talking about trying to take what little they give away. Elon is in charge. LOL. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Dr. Q, does that Q stand for quack? I blocked him, so he's of no consequence. I want to see Democrats crying when Trump pardons all Jay's Sixers. You know what? We won't cry. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to laugh because this will work against you. And I'll tell you what, Donald Trump won't probably pardon all Jay's Sixers. He might do a couple. See, this is what Donald Trump does. He talks a lot, but he never finishes the job. He's too lazy. He's too busy playing golf. Let's see here. Trump's building the biggest golf course ever in Mexico and golfing next 4 years. I don't know about that. You can't even go to Scotland where he has one course. They don't want him there. Uh, L. Holcomb says, I think Republicans are going to be very, very surprised. I think you're probably right about that. They're going to be surprised because they've talked so much about how successful they're going to be, and they're not going to be successful. They're going to fail miserably. And then they're going to have to be bouncing around figuring out what to do. They got the worst thing that could happen to them. They're all about arguing and pointing the finger at other people. But if you have the presidency, the House, and the Senate, and you fail, there's only one person to blame, one group to blame, and that is the Republicans. What do you think if Biden resigned and Kamala become the first female president? I don't know what the value in that is. I don't think that's going to happen. Why would you fuck with Joe's legacy at this point? It doesn't accomplish anything. It's just, it's akin to the Republicans trying to own the libtards. I don't really care about owning the Republicans. They'll do that for themselves. Uh, you'll be deported and won't be here to celebrate. That goes out to Miguel Cuonas. I don't know that that's true, Miguel. I don't know um, what Donald Trump's actually going to do. It'll be interesting to see if he starts trying to deport folks. It'll be a mess and it'll fuck with our economy. Even Texas is saying, Greg Abbott saying, no, wait a minute. That's not a good thing. That'll screw up our construction business. Well, if it's going to hurt Abbott, we'll see if Donald Trump still does it. Will Trump exempt depends from the new tariffs? That's an excellent question. I would think he would. I would think he would. He spends a lot of money on Depends. He goes through a lot of shitty diapers. So, yeah, he probably will. Um, please explain why he never says what good things he's going to do. Always revenge and hate. Well, see, that's the thing about narcissists. It's always the worst or it's always the best. And generally, they go with the worst. They're always trying to, you notice that with the Republicans, they never have anything, whether it be Hillary Clinton, whether it be Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. They never talked about the things they were going to do. They're trying to own or smear their opponent because that's all they have. They don't have any plans, they don't have any strategy. You would think that attitude and that mindset would stop him from being elected to the presidency, but apparently 48% of this country love that shit. Javier says, let's see here. Here's a guy here. Here's a guy here. He says, that guy, Mike Mason, goes through a lot. I had somebody come to my DMs and post some facts about somebody. He thought he was exposing me. And frankly, I don't give a shit because you can find me easy enough on the internet. I'm everywhere over and above the TikTok stuff. But he puts out this name, Mike Mason. Well, my name ain't Mike Mason. You had the age wrong, you had the location wrong, but he thinks he's doing something. He's blocked now. Fuck him. I heard that Melania has a house here in Texas now. Who knows? That sounds about right. She's not going to the White House. Trump pardoned Kushner and Manafort and Steve Bannon, too, by the way, and Roger Stone. So you can cry and whine all you want about Hunter Biden, but Donald Trump has some questions to answer about legitimate felons that he's pardoned. Will Musk give up his Tesla salary? I don't know that he gets a salary. He makes money on the bottom line. Keep telling it like it is. Love your podcast, Kenneth Moore. Thank you, Kenneth. I appreciate that. Um, TJ, okay, this guy is blocked now, but he says, trucking not easy. Mike Mason, Mound, Minnesota. He thinks that's me. Now, I do live in Mound, Minnesota, but my name's not Mike Mason. And the birth date he had was 3 years older than me. He thinks he's smart, but trucking not easy. I should maybe do a little deep dive into who he is. I bet you I got more wherewithal than he does to find out who he is. I don't know him real well, but I know Tizzy Ent. Maybe he could look into it. Now, I just love these guys. They think they're funny. They think they scare me. You don't fucking scare me. I'm not hiding who I am. Doesn't matter. Tell you what, trucking ain't easy. If you want to come to Mound, Minnesota and meet up with me, I'd love to fucking talk to you. I am from Kentucky. We love you and your content. Thank you very much, Cora. I appreciate that. Pardoning the J6ers would be a crime in itself for just doing it. You're absolutely right. That would be a crime of the 14th Amendment. And maybe that's what they're looking for him to do. Go ahead, pardon those J6ers. They have been convicted as insurrectionists. The 14th Amendment says if you give comfort or help or assistance to insurrectionists, you're in violation of the 14th Amendment, which Donald Trump would be. I'll guarantee you he doesn't probably pardon these guys. He talks a good game, but some lawyer will say, yeah, that might cause us problems. You don't want to do that. And then you have Donald Trump once again making a promise that he can't fucking keep. His plan to send people back to Mexico is not going to do a goddamn thing. Yeah, I don't think he's going to accomplish it. Do you think Elon will be allowed to keep his new position by the Senate and the House? Well, here's the thing Elon doesn't really have a position. Donald Trump put he and Vivek Ramaswamy in charge of something called the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. It's not a real thing. It's not a real department. It's outside government. You see, Donald Trump or no president can actually just create a department and say, you're head of it. That has to go through Congress. There has to be funding. There has to be a lot of things. The thing about it is, this sits outside the government and they consult with the actual legitimate departments inside Congress. Now, you have to wonder, does Elon Musk have any influence? Well, I don't know. Probably not. I mean, they wanted Rick Scott to be the leader in the Senate. They didn't get that. Elon Musk wanted Matt Gaetz to be the attorney general. Didn't get that. So I don't think Elon Musk is going to have much luck. I don't think a lot of people like him in the Senate or the House. So uh, he can keep trying to act like he's got some power, but I don't think he will. Analytical Iowan, TJ the plumber. Uh, yeah, that trucking guy, I blocked him. Yeah, he's trying to dox me, but he can't. And even if he did, so the fuck what? I don't care. Um, Momo home team, and appreciate you always using a voice for good. Well, I try to. Melania might sing like a canary because something happened to Ivanka. I don't know what that means. Please enlighten us, Linda. um, excuse me. I'm just blocking some dumb fucks. TJ's out there doing the same thing. Um, as I say, Trump the fucks. You won the election. What are you doing? Why are you mad at us? You won. Go do something. Show us how smart you are. See, that's the thing about Trump the fucks. They're not very smart. All they know how to do is argue and fight. Well, for the next 4 years, I'm going to be here ready to fight you, assuming you aren't the pussy ass bitches that go crying to TikTok or one of the other social media platforms. If you're a Trumplefuck and think you're tough and think you're smart, there's one fair way to do it. You can always come on the Rational Boomer podcast, and I'll be happy to give you a platform to spew your shit. But then you're going to be asked some questions, and they're going to be questions you don't know how to answer. How do I know this? Because I've had you motherfuckers on the show before, and nobody can answer the questions. You're not smart enough to do it. And most people who say, yeah, I'll come on the show, I'll give you what for, you never show up because you're gutless pieces of shit. What's being done about the irregularities in the vote? What is Kamala doing behind the scenes? I don't know that anything's being done. I keep hearing people talk about irregularities, but I've seen no evidence of that. I'm not going to jump on and start talking about it like the Trumplefucks did. If something happened that is up for question, we need to hear the evidence. We need to know that the DOJ and Democrats are doing something about it. We've heard nothing about that. Everything's been very quiet. I don't know if that means there's something going on or not, but I'm not talking about irregularities because we know that Donald Trump cheated to a certain extent. He cheated in 2016, he cheated in 2020, and he cheated in 2024. But nobody's done anything about those things as yet. He hasn't been held accountable for it. So if they're going to expose the evidence and do anything about it, what's the point of talking about it? Mm. Will Trump get sick of Elon running the show? Yeah, oh yeah, he's going to get sick of him very quickly. Um, I know a Republican guy who was Tea Party. All he does is attack Democrats. So negative. Yeah. Well, if that's all you do, then you aren't worth much to fucking anybody. I can sit and attack Republicans all the time, but at some point you got to do something for the country. Can somebody report the trucking guy? I can't find his account. I just blocked him, and it's probably got 2 followers. Don't worry about it. I heard Trump tariffs are going to make billions for him on buying and selling. I don't know that it'll make billions for him. It's going to piss off most of the people that support him, the big money people. Let's see here. Didn't Biden get the No Kings Act pact passed? I think he did, and I don't know all the details of it. If Analytical Iowan or somebody out there knows what the specifics are of that and what the answer is, please chime in. Trump is on revenge tour. He hates America. Yeah, that's true. Not a good thing to have as a president of the United States. Larry says, saw where Biden pardoned his kid. Good job. I agree with you. He should have pardoned him. Imagine his margin of victory without the biased media censorship. You know, that's the thing. I get a lot of Trump-lefucks coming to me and saying, well, he won by a landslide. It was a red wave. No, it wasn't. Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris by a margin of 1.6%. That's the third lowest in the history of this country. They lost seats in the House, but they did gain seats in the Senate. They won for the most part, but it wasn't a red wave and it wasn't any kind of mandate. So shut the fuck up. Hey, from Virginia, love your content. I appreciate the great information. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you listening. The silence is scary. Why is nothing happening? Well, that's a good question. All right. I almost got an hour. Um, they shut me down again. So now they're going to review it. At least I got to 57 minutes. I'm off the live right now. I'm just on the podcast. You can see that I wasn't too crazy, but the Trump-lefucks are terrified, the little babies. And they go crying to Daddy TikTok and get me taken down. So what the fuck are you gonna do? It's ridiculous. And this is why I don't do a lot of lives on TikTok. I'll probably do more on YouTube. Um, TikTok is weird, and the fact that the Trump-lefucks are even harder to deal with now than they were before the election is even weirder. It's strange. So anyway, they took us down. We're going to wind down the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow at this point.